Oh boy. I don't know, man. I do not know how I am going to survive the next roster freeze and inevitable trade bug that's gonna start infecting all of us here in the city of Vancouver as we watch all of the Vancouver Canucks names go through the cycle. Are the Canucks gonna trade Pettersson? Are they trading Miller? Is Desharnais gonna get traded soon? By the way, we will make another video about Desharnais later in today's show because there were some other rumors talking about what teams he could be linked to. Thank you very much, Elliot Friedman, for giving us that thought. But still, the Vancouver Canucks are in a pretty weird spot. Yesterday's win against Colorado was awesome, but it's one win. We have to see whether or not they're able to string together wins, especially on home ice, which is impossible now because they're not going to be at home for the next few games. But anyways, the team is starting slowly to get back into the swing of things and start looking good again. That doesn't change the fact that it's been very documented that Vancouver is still in the trade market. And we had ourselves some tweets, we had ourselves some YouTube shorts that go out there and discuss everything we need to know about Vancouver. And a lot of it comes over here with Rick Dhaliwal. Let's go out there and start everything off firstly with a tweet that he made yesterday during Donnie and Dolly with Elliot Friedman on as a guest. Jim Rutherford has a wish list. If he can do it, he will do it. Furthermore, Taj tweeted this out, a quote from Dhaliwal from the same Donnie and Dolly episode yesterday. The Canucks are very aggressive on the trade market right now. With this in mind, we're going out there onto a YouTube short and going over some names that Rick Dhaliwal mentions. I'm going to link this in the description. I know some of y'all might be thinking, oh, YouTube short, what the hell? Hey, trust me, this is fine. It's from the Donnie and Dolly YouTube channel, and it is a summary or a short clip with quotes as to what Rick Dhaliwal says on the show from yesterday morning. Talks about a bunch of Vancouver stuff. So let's transcribe it. It's all there on the video. Rick Dhaliwal says this on the Donnie and Dolly program. Talking to people around the league, the Vancouver Canucks are looking for a defenseman. Prices are high. Everybody wants your first-round picks, your second-round picks. Everybody wants your top prospects. Cam Fowler is a player that the Canucks liked. They were making calls. It wouldn't surprise me if they called Boston to check in for forward Trent Frederic. And then quickly you have Don Taylor saying that Cam Fowler was already traded on the weekend to the St. Louis Blues. Rick Dhaliwal said the Canucks apparently liked him. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Earlier this year when Pettersson was struggling, Buffalo called Vancouver and they talked. Dhaliwal then says that we know the Canucks have liked Bowen Byram for quite some time. The same name that Elliot Friedman went out there and talked about. Another player that the Canucks have liked in the past was forward Alex Tuch. And yet they've been told that Alex Tuch is not available for a trade. Dhaliwal then says, Jim Rutherford is not just going to sit around, Don, you know that. He's not going to sit around and watch this team middle around forever. He then talks about some of the other guys we had discussed yesterday. Dylan Cousins is 23, Bowen Byram has had concussion issues, and there are some concerns that you could talk about as well. Arbitration rights you might have to deal with, but the Vancouver Canucks are working the phones. Let's leave it at that. And so with this in mind, I wanted to talk about some of these names that Rick Dhaliwal just throws out there. Maybe this is his own spitballing as well, but Vancouver was interested in Cam Fowler. They were interested in Alex Tuch before getting that trade idea shut down. They might go out there and start calling Boston about Trent Frederic. This is all the more interesting. Now, we don't need to talk about Cam Fowler because he already got traded, but we will talk about the other dudes. Starting out with Alex Tuch, this was a name that when I saw Dhaliwal talking about Tuch in the broadcast, I was like, ooh, that guy would be perfect. Like, okay, you could very much debate that the Canucks don't need any more forwards. They've already got 12 pretty good ones, but Alex Tuch is a pretty good improvement over many of the guys on this team. 28 years old, 6'4", 216, right-handed guy, right-wing center, and he is a leader on the Buffalo Sabres, one of the best ones on the team. You can tell he absolutely loves being there. He's from the area. Signed on until 2026 with a $4.75 million AAV cap hit. Alex Tuch had his best NHL season during his second Buffalo Sabres year. He had 79 points in 74 games played. Last year, everybody on Buffalo declined in point production. Tuch had 59 points in that year, and this season he's got 25 and 31, on pace for a 66-point campaign over a full 82. That's maybe seen as a disappointment compared to what he had done in the past, but still, everybody sucks in Buffalo. Everybody's doing poorly on that team, with the exception of Byram and Tuch, I guess you could say, and Dahlin, but he's been out for a while, so we'll exclude him from that conversation. But Alex Tuch is a really strong hockey player, and the best part about his game is that he plays such a no-nonsense style that when I think about Tuch, I think, yeah, that would be a perfect Rick Tocchet-like player. You think about the Connor Garlands, the Sherwoods, the Dakota Joshuas, even to some extent the Jake DeBrusks of the world. The reason Sam Lafferty was given a really big role under Tocchet's system, the reason Ilya Mikheyev was playing with Elias Pettersson, is because these guys have things that Rick Tocchet likes. They play with pace, they play with no filter, they don't play with any sort of a second guess, and Alex Tuch does all of that alongside of an uncanny ability to snipe the puck in transition. Like, you know how many of these freaking Alex Tuch goals go in on Vancouver that are just snipes from the wing? He just picks up speed, gallops, 1-2 step, and then boom, he takes a shot and it's in the top corner. Like, this guy does that all night long. I feel like he scored a million goals like that against Vancouver, especially as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights, when Vegas was just seeing Vancouver every other weekend because Pacific Division, right? Anyways, Alex Tuch is a leader in that Buffalo organization. They love him there. He loves it there too, even though the team kind of stinks. And so for Alvin and Rutherford to go out there and talk about him as a potential target, yeah, no, makes sense to me. Like, with the way Rick Tocchet is and the way that he values his players and their work ethic, Tuch fits that perfectly. He's like Dakota Joshua, but with a lot more pace and with a better shot. So I would see that as a very big win if Vancouver was able to pry him away from Buffalo, but there's no way that's going to happen. They're not going to trade him away. Talking about the other guy, though, let's go over to Boston and discuss Trent Frederic, because Frederic's an interesting name. He's 26 years old, 6'3", 220 left-handed guy, signed on until the end of this season, making $2.3 million, and he's on pace for 28 points this year. Last year, he had 40 points. The year before that, he had 31. Frederic has slowly been getting better as a member of the Boston Bruins after being drafted by the organization in 2016. He was a first-round pick back in that time frame. It took him a while, but he eventually found himself in Boston full-time. And now he is one of these middle to bottom-ish 6-caliber guys, a two-way force who has some scoring touch, and last season who had a lot of blocked shots. I mean, I talk about this all the time, but last year my primary fantasy league was the Hot Take Hockey YouTubers League, and for some reason John from Hot Take Hockey reduced the amount of points that goals and assists are worth, making them almost equal to hits and blocks. And Trent Frederic was one of the best guys in the league because he was always blocking shots and getting hits. It also helped a lot that he was starting to produce more offense. This season, of course, he isn't really in that same spot, but then again, a lot of Boston Bruins players are not doing too well offensively this season, considering how poorly that team has been able to perform against every other team except for Vancouver on that one game, excluding the shutout loss they had. But Trent Frederic, if the Vancouver Canucks really wanted some sort of an upgrade on C, if they don't really see too much value out of Danton Heinen, Frederic is a more or less equal replacement. If you wanted to fully max out your roster, you don't want a guy who was inexperienced like Max Sasson on your team, then I guess Frederic would be an okay add. To be honest though, I actually quite like Max Sasson and what he's brought to the Vancouver Canucks lineup recently, especially on that line with Pettersson yesterday. It was really noticeable how effective he was. Trent Frederic I don't necessarily think is too much of an upgrade, but I do think he would be more consistent, and you just kind of know what you're getting out of Frederic at this point, since he is 26 years old after all. Maybe not as much of a sexy needle mover as some of the other guys we've talked about, but certainly somebody that would add value. I personally do think there's more value to be had in the defenseman, though. I don't think that upgrading Assassin to a Frederic would justify the entire trading cost as well as the time it would take to be invested into those discussions. I would much rather see Alvin and Rutherford decide to go after either a more valuable forward like an Alex Tuch or something, or a defenseman instead. But, of course, if Tuch is not available, then he's not available. Buffalo and Bowen Byram. Dollyball says the Canucks have liked Byram for a while, which is not surprising. He's from Cranbrook after all. But anyways, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these other revealed Vancouver Canucks trade targets. Tuch, Cam Fowler, Trent Frederic. Thoughts in the comment section below about all these guys and whether or not they'd be a good fit on Vancouver. If you're a fan of Buffalo and or Boston, what are your thoughts on making some sort of a move? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.